I didn't know who my Lord was. I started to learn about my Rob and started to learn more about who Allah is. And that transformed me as a person. She's moved to Ireland now. If she sees an outfit that maybe is looking a little bit, she'll call me up like, what's really happening, Gaga? Is your scarf on properly?
Is there a point where we Muslim fashion girlies need to just admit that some things that don't leave it?
100%. 110%. There's certain things that it's not for us.
1, 2, ready, go. Unveiled Voices. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone to another wonderful episode of the Unveiled Voices. My name is still Mariam, and I still have with me in the studio
Hanifa.
Today is still a guest episode, but without much further ado, do you want to introduce who our guest is?
Where do I even start from?
Start from the beginning.
What I would say is that when I met you and now, like, you're so... I don't think I have the words to describe the change that has happened. And I think a bulk of the conversation today will actually be centered around that. But I guess today is Sister Motunrayo Nurah Abdul-Mojeed.
Do you want to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much, ladies, for me. I would like to think of myself as the OG Unveiled Voices. So how would I introduce myself? Bismillah.
Who are you?
I'm just a baby girl trying her best. That's it.
Perfect description. So when we started the podcast, one of the things we said we wanted to do more of is tell stories of Muslim women on how they are navigating faith, everyday life. Nobody is perfect. Everybody has one or two things they are going through. So today's conversation is going to be about how we are centering Allah in our everyday lives, how we are doing in states of high and low iman. And like you said, Hanifa, from even when I knew Motunrayo to now, it has actually been wonderful to see the growth, alhamdulillah, and that's what we should share more of. It's also inspirational in some sense, right? Because you know who this person used to be before, and then you see who they are now.
You know what? I think we're telling
the story already.
Let's get into it, because I want to hear from like the horse's mouth. Like, this girl is so different. What has happened? Take me to the early days of the final metamorphosis that we saw. What started that shift? What made you just start to change?
Yeah. So it's actually quite interesting you say that. I think what happened was and this might sound so cliche and so weird, but what happened was I met Allah. I would say that's what it happened. You know, being born Muslim, right? We all kind of just go through our religion with, my parents say do this, so therefore I do this. My parents say pray salat, so I go and pray salat. If they don't say locking room, maybe you won't even get up and go and pray. And a lot of us go through like our faith with just, this is what our family does, this is what happens, and that's just it. But a lot of us don't actually know. Actually, let me not say a lot of us, let me speak for myself. I didn't know who Allah was, right? I didn't know who my Lord was. And what happened was I started to learn about my Rabb and started to learn more about who Allah is. And that transformed me as a person.
But was there any aha moment that, okay, I think I want to just know who Allah is?
Did life happen to you?
Did life happen? Did something happen? Did you go through like any challenges?
My life is always happening. Life is always happening. I mean, Allah's already told us, like, are you going to say what you believe and then you're just going to be, something? No, now, of course now. Things will happen. But I would say what happened was, one of the things that I would say I'm thankful for was, even before I started wearing my hijab properly, because literally throughout my entire life, I'd wear my scarf on and off, not really understanding like the significance of why we wear hijab or why you should wear hijab, just because that's why I was always like wear my scarf. I'd wear my scarf here and there and then take it off and then wear it again and then take it off. But one thing I always made sure was during Ramadan, I always wore it. Would I say maybe Allah always made it easier to wear it during Ramadan, throughout the duration of Ramadan. So for me, a lot of my transformations starts with Ramadan. And I know a lot of people give people flack for being a Ramadan Muslim, but there's something about Ramadan that just makes it easier. It's easier to do things and, perform acts of worship. But for me, transformation always starts with one Ramadan. So there's a particular Ramadan where my goal for that month was to make sure I wear my hijab properly. So usually I'd wear like a scarf, like a turban. But that particular Ramadan, I was like, okay, I'm going to wear it as a hijab. And then what I'm going to do is I'm also going to engage with the Quran every single day. Every single day after Fajr and after Asr, I'm going to read the Quran. And that particular Ramadan, I stuck it through. And I have never met the Quran the way I did that particular Ramadan. It was like, I was reading it and it was like, am I just engaging with this book for the first time? I've always read it, but why does it feel like I'm reading it with a different lens, or I'm reading it with a clearer mind? And then at the end of that month, I was like, okay, if I can wear my scarf during Ramadan, I can wear it outside of Ramadan. Let's start. And I was a bit scared to start because, again, people know you. One of the fear as humans have is sometimes we do fear change. When people know you as a certain way and then people can quote to you, but you were the one who was thinking in the car. So now you want to be acting brand new. That could deter us from wanting to change, because you're like, well, people know me, people have seen me, but people don't know you. Even you don't know yourself. Like, you're always evolving. So allow yourself change. So I think there was that fear in the beginning at that point. And I went around with my friends and my family just saying stuff like, oh yeah, after Ramadan, I'm going to keep my scarf on, changing my entire closet. And I've always been a fashion girly. So it's like, changing my entire closet is going to be too expensive. I cannot. How do I do this? And one thing I'm thankful for my friends and my family. They're always supportive. So yeah.
This is what you want to do. Let's go for it.
Yeah, it's good for it. Go for it. So everybody was like, yes, now.
Let's go for
it. Go for it. I've had people gifting me and just gifting me things to enter that new phase of life. And what I was determined about in that particular Ramadan was, I've started this habit. I don't want to drop it. I want to ensure that I continue engaging with the Quran every day. And I want to ensure that even if it's slowly, I know people say stuff about, Hijab Journey. It's actually a journey for a lot of us. It's a step by step. But I just thought, I want to ensure that I keep this, I don't drop it. So one thing I always, although during Ramadan I was engaging with the Quran, Fajr and Asr, I tried to do Fajr and Asr outside of Ramadan, but I quickly realized it didn't work with my schedule. So I was like, after Fajr, I'm going to read the Quran, even if it's one verse. And every time I feel lazy and I'm like, I'm tired, I always think, convey from me, even if it's just one verse. And that one verse does a lot. And I would say, for me, by the mercy of Allah, the Quran is what transformed me.
I like this point because you've drawn quite a few tangents into this journey, this transformation. First was, you just had this feeling of, I want this Ramadan to be different. I think that a lot of people feel that there's a natural fitra. We are inclined towards worshiping God. We know the truth, but life distracts us, and also sometimes we get that pull and we ignore it. What made this time different? Like, why did you have to act on it this time?
You want to hear my secret, Sabi?
I want to hear it. I think there's something there.
Allah talks to us every time. And what I realize is, everything we want in this dunya and the Akhira is on the other side of obedience to Allah. Every single thing. Whether it's your career, even you understanding your Islam more. And I saw a friend of mine's partner, and she just glows. Allow about it. Come here, tell her, bless her, and make her better than I think of her. I just looked at her one and I just thought, wow, like, this girl is just allow about it. Like, something about her, she just glows, and it just gives the aura.
You
of
long
somebody.
for that as well.
Yeah, like it was the aura of somebody who was like, I'm at peace. I know who my Lord is. Of course, this dunya is hard. We all worry, right? But it was kind of like I don't have any worries, or whatever worries I have, Allah's got it. And I just looked at her and I just thought, wow, I want to be like her.
Something there to be said for like good company, good role models as well. And I think for Mariam and I, that's part of the reason we'll have this podcast. Life is not easy in itself, but with God, as a Muslim woman, you can navigate anything. And so this is really about just having those conversations with people like us, people different from us, and just hearing how they've done it. So mashallah for that.
So on the hijab journey, you mentioned one of the reason why people are resistant to change is because people will be like, oh, well, I know you before. So can you talk us through that journey? You said, okay, I would start with the turban, then gradually you went into the hijab, then for dressing as well, dressing modestly. How did you bring yourself to fall in love with that modest journey? Because honestly, you're a fashion girly, mashallah.
Yeah, that is a very good question. That, to be honest, I don't think I've actually thought about it, but I would say it took a while. Um, so at that time, I had a friendship group, and in my friendship group, it was one other lady that was wearing a scarf, like a turban, before I started wearing a turban. And then when I started wearing it, became just the two of us. At the beginning, I felt quite odd because I realized I had to put more effort into how I look. I started being more intentional about the pieces that I buy, the things that I wear, how I layer and stuff like that. And I always say this, I honestly believe I became even more elegant and more fashionable when I started.
Okay, I want to go back to the point where you realized that your hijab was inherently tied to your connection to Allah. And the reason why I'm going back there is I see a lot of things online or hear a lot of things where people make it seem like it's independent of each other. Like you
can be an hijabi and not necessarily be
pursue your hijab journey, or want to dress up in the way that we've been prescribed to dress. What do you think of that, especially as someone who's been on both sides?
If I'm getting the question right, are you saying that people act as if wearing hijab is independent of a relationship with Allah?
Yes, because what you just described is like you kind of had to start wearing your hijab, or at least start trying to dress in the. It was you didn't separate it. Like the question I initially asked you was around like your journey to God, but you didn't. I thought it was interesting because I didn't even talk about hijab. You mentioned, so I'm like, at what point did it click for you that actually it's one and the same?
Yeah, I would say it's engaging with the Quran and really learning, because the Quran really tells us who Allah is. If you want to meet your Lord, engage with the Quran. Literally, Allah tells us who He is. And even from like reading the Surah and like engaging with the stories of the Prophet ﷺ and all the other prophets, like you really meet Allah. And I don't think as Muslims, we can say we know Allah and then go against what Allah has told us to do. Do you know what it is, though? Generally, I think we forget that. The same way Allah said salat is the same way Allah said hijab. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you can choose.
Yes, and then Allah has told us it's compulsory.
Yes.
But you know one thing, Allah has also given us free choice. So I've asked you to do this. It's not up to you to decide if you want to do it or not. And when you do it, again, like I said, obedience, everything you're looking for, peace of mind, ease, whatever it is, it's on the other side of obedience. So and this is me speaking for myself, nobody else. I personally believe once I started to listen to my Lord and actually obey my Lord, and I'm not saying, things just fall into my lap and transactional relationship where I do and then Allah gives me, no. It's a thing of Allah has told me do this. I'm doing it. There's a benefit to it. I see the benefit. It's reflecting in my life, in me, in my heart. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like again,
I'm onto the right thing here. Yeah.
right. Does that make sense? And it's like again, like I can't separate. Oh yeah, no. Like it's for me or personally.
What would you recommend to people that feel? And the reason I keep going back to this is like, I think how we show up is such a huge thing. Look at it. She has been saying fashion girly. It's because you look good. Like when she sees you, it makes an impression. So it's such a huge part of who we are. And like you said, Allah said we should show up in a certain way. May Allah make it easy for us, because even for us, we're not at the end. We're not at the peak. Yeah. We're still on the journey, as you said. But it's so important and I see a lot of young Muslim women struggle with how they look and how the religion of Islam has prescribed that you show up. What can they do? How can they? You've already said about engage with the Quran a lot more. You've talked about obeying Allah. What else? How do they get that conviction? Because I think that's what's missing here. How does it not matter to them that, I'm not supposed to put on the weaves, the XYZ, and I'm good with that?
I would be very honest with you. It was one of the things that at the beginning I feel like I struggled with. So, like I said, at the time I had a friendship group and there was about 6 of us. And then at the time, only one person was wearing a scarf, a turban, right? And then I joined her and then there was 2 of us. And then the other girlies were, fashion girly, the whole wig, everything. Obviously not like disparaging anybody. I was there too, do you get? I was all among at that time. So when I started wearing the scarf with my other friend, um, and when we would all go out together, I felt not pretty. I didn't feel good. And because again, outside of the Islamic world or like Muslim countries, there is a standard of beauty. And that standard of beauty does not include the hijab or covering or modesty. That's facts of it. So when you are outside of that norm, you feel odd. I felt odd. And I remember talking to that my friend, like, oh wow, like I've always felt like this. And she was like, girl, I was the only one among you guys. I mean, of course I felt odd for
Mm.
a long time. And then I think what made the journey easier was we had each other.
Mm.
So I would say companionship, having women who are also striving to do the same as you. And that's one of the things that actually deepened mine and her relationship, that now she's literally one of my best friends.
Nice.
Because we actually had that journey. Of course, she started her journey way before me. And then obviously I joined her. And then when I joined her, then we started a new journey together. And she also like wears her hijab fully now as well.
No.
So like I had somebody else to bounce off of, and then both of us could go out together and we're both wearing our scarf and it's like, girl, we're gonna get new colors of hijab and we're like, oh, let's go to Whitechapel, we're going to buy scarves and like these things that that kind of makes the journey exciting and makes it easier for you is honestly having companionship, having people who are also striving for the same thing. If you're the only one, and I'm not saying dump your friends, if you're the only if you're the only one in your friendship group that's striving, it might feel lonely and you might feel like, oh, I'm the odd one out. I look different. I don't want to look different. When we go out, everyone looks good and I feel frumpy and I feel this and I feel that. I would say seek out people who are also striving and go on that journey together. It makes it easier. Honestly, the believers staying together honestly does make it easy. And again, you have someone who can remind you, because reminder does benefit the believer, right? I have a friend, right? She's moved to Ireland now. If she sees an outfit that maybe is looking a little bit, she'll call me up like, sister, what's really happening? Go. Like, is your scarf on properly? And that would not offend me. Because obviously I'm like, that's what I want. I want
somebody to remind you.
To remind me.
What if they drag me if I go and say something like that now?
But then I guess that's when you know your audience, right? And it's one of those things where, okay, having people who you can have this conversation with helps. Having people who can literally hold you accountable helps.
There isn't one look for a Muslim. We're all from different places. Is there a point where we Muslim fashion, non-fashion girlies need to just admit that some things are, don't leave it. It's okay.
100%. 110%. There's certain things that it's not for us to wear outside.
There's nothing bad in it not being for us. It's
Maintaining your lane.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for us to wear outside.
Yeah.
Inside your house.
Not consign us yet.
Anything you like, wear it.
Yeah.
In fact, buy all those short clothes that are entering your eyes. Buy it and wear it in the house. Buy it and wear it to maybe your girls only events, even though there's also stipulations for that, or there's certain
Don't
parts.
go and be showing your
You know what I'm saying? There's the aura, there's parts you cover, even with women and like people who are permitted to see you in certain states. But certain things are not for us. There's no point of trying to halalify a bodycon.
Yeah. Like, even the idea, the concept of it is already like
it's not in void. It's not in dab. Like already, if you're trying to adapt a bodycon dress, that's null and void.
To be honest, having this conversation even feels stressful. Like, yo. Anyway, I want to zoom back again because I think we've gone into the self-image piece a lot. I want us to go back to the inside, because I think that when you change inside, that's what comes on the outside. Mm-hmm. Particularly going back to the born a Muslim arc. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you think that our parents or the community could have done better, at least when it comes to your own personal journey, where this realization you had much later on as an adult could have maybe just been
something you grew up with
instinctively?
That's such a great question. And I see the difference in the way our parents parented and the way like newer Muslim parents,
new age parents,
that's it, do it. And there's a huge difference. There's a friend of mine who she homeschools her daughter. And she's a teacher and then she homeschools her daughter, and her daughter, beautiful, Alama Badakla. And, her daughter wears the hijab, and I see the way she's bringing up her daughter. And it's a thing of, she actually presents Islam as a way of life, as these are the things Allah has told us, and this is how, why, and these are the benefits of it, and also making it like fun and enjoyable for her daughter, right? Like, for example, having like hijab parties or having like, Quran parties and, things like that with like people of her peers, and just making it nicer. I feel like when we were growing up, it was more of a lekewu.
It was also more from a fear point of view.
It was okay. It wasn't like this is why we do this, and this is why Allah has asked us to do this. And I see how generally those of us that grew up that way, maybe we don't see Islam as a way of life. Maybe we see Islam as separate from our life, right? We don't see, and Islam is not something that this is your life, this is Islam. No, it's together, right? Islam is your way of life. You don't plan Islam around you. You plan yourself around Islam. So the way I see new age parents treating and bringing up their kids is literally letting them know that it's not separate. It comes together.
How many of our parents actually understood even what the Quran was saying? We also need to acknowledge our privilege.
You can't pour from what you don't have.
Exactly.
So true. You cannot pour from empty glass. You can't give what you don't have. And that's one thing that I've noticed as well. I'll give you an example. When I was getting married, and we're going to like have our like nikah and everything, I told my mom that, we're going to go to the masjid, and then after the masjid, we have like a walima, we have lunch and whatever. And I don't want music at the event. And then my uncles were like,
You've been waiting for this wedding. No.
What do you mean you don't want music at your events? Like, what does that even mean?
And by the way, these are Muslims.
Like, what do you mean you don't want music? Like, we go to parties, we go to weddings. This is part of the joy of it. You have music, we have a good time. And I was telling my mom that, and my mom, Allah bless her, make her best. Mom was like, Taba, for music, you don't want.
We are with you. Whatever you want.
And then she was telling my uncle, and I was with my uncle, and my uncle was really annoyed, like, what do you mean you don't want music? And my mom literally said one thing that made my uncle pause. My mom said, in Yoruba, she was like, before our kids were doing Islam, we were praying that, Ya Allah, put your love in their heart, put your love in their heart. Now Allah's put that in their heart. Is it us that we're not deterring them from doing what Allah has asked them to do? We don't know any better. Now they're teaching us. We should be saying Alhamdulillah. And my uncle actually paused and said, you know what? You're right. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Sure, you don't want music, that's okay. I realized that it's not always like that for everybody, where maybe their parents or their family are like, you know what? This is what we prayed for. Alhamdulillah. Let's just, but you are right, like, this is just to add to the point of they can't teach what they don't know. And again, we are in an age where it's so for us to actually learn and seek out things. I mean, there's the Mariam Institute that they literally do free training, actual degrees online, free of charge, right? So what's our excuse now to not seek knowledge? Right? Okay, obviously Allah is the one who makes it easy, and there might be obstacles that get in your way from achieving that at a certain time, but the reality is it's now easier to seek knowledge. I mean, I have my ustaza who's in Nigeria. I'm here in England. We have Zoom. We have WhatsApp. It's so much easier to seek knowledge.
You spend so much time on TikTok everywhere. Have 15 minutes for.
Right. Do you get it? That's yourself. There's also content that you can learn from.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Take it out as well. So now we don't have an excuse. Maybe when our parents were growing up, they also grew up with do this, do it like that, and they are giving us the way that their parents gave us. So now we are in an age where information is so easy. It's so easier to learn, and may not make it easy for us.
Yeah. Some people would say, look, why do I have to make Islam like a way of life? I'm okay. I'm working, I'm earning, I pray when I can, I dress how I want to. I'm doing what I can do. Why must it be a way of life? What do you say to that? Because I feel there are answers here, but it's just not obvious to a lot of people. And that's why I keep asking you some of these hard questions of what were you thinking?
What do I say to someone who asks, why should Islam be a way of life? Do you know, someone said something about, oh, they wish there was a manual to life. And I was like, there is. It's the Quran. And I know it sounds like I keep going on, on, but I don't think there's anything that could occur in our lives that Allah hasn't already treated or told us, if this happens, do it like this. Or if that's happening, do it like this. And my sister was actually asking me the other day, where do I start with seeking knowledge? And I said to her, the Quran. That's literally where you start. It's right there in Surah Al-Baqarah. But a lot of us don't even know these things. So again, it goes back to seeking knowledge. And the more you seek knowledge, the more you engage with your Quran, the more you realize every single thing that you go through, it's already prescribed. For example, look at Surah Ad-Duha, right? And I think it's one of those stories that everybody goes back to when they're struggling. You're feeling, your vision is blurry, you're feeling somehow, and you're like, yeah, like life is flogging you. And when you go back to it, when you think about why the surah was revealed to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you're like, oh, actually, yeah, the Prophet went through this thing as well. And Allah's already told me, I've got you, I've got your back. You're fine. Don't worry. This is all just part of life. And so if someone asks me, oh, but why do I have to intertwine Islam with my life? It's because Allah's literally given us a manual.
That's the manual.
Allah's given us a manual on how to engage in this dunya. And may He open up our hearts to see it. Because again, the fact that we're talking about Islam, the fact that we're talking about hijab and we're striving, it's not by our own do. Allah guides people. And the reason why we're here is because Allah is guiding us. And may He continue to guide us. And the prayer is, may He not remove us from the folds of Islam. And may He keep
it in our hearts. I really echo what you said. The manual is there. And you can start slow. You can kind of start with stories of the Prophet. Okay, whatever you are going through at the time. Is life very good and everything is smooth? Go and find the stories around people who had it good. What did they do? The ones that please Allah, the ones that not please, follow it. Is it very tough? Go there. You see the stories that apply to you. And so, may Allah make it easy.
So my question to you, Motunrayo, would be, to somebody out there who is probably at that point where you were at, what would you say to that person to encourage them to keep going and to be consistent?
Just trust in Allah's plans for you and keep going. That's literally what I was saying. Trust in Allah's plan. Because at that time, I don't think I could have envisioned that.
How life would have turned out.
Yes. And even to the extent that I'm thinking to myself, okay, my job is okay now. How can it be better? So I would say just keep going and seek out people who are on similar journey as you. It makes it easier. If you feel like you're alone, and please don't engage with what people are saying online, because if you go online and you go on and you're reading people saying, oh, hijab is restrictive, it makes women, it does this to women, you're not.
That's what you will internalize.
Exactly. Right. You might start questioning yourself, okay, but what about men? Why they not wearing hijab? What I'm saying. So don't
focus on yourself first. Get yourself together.
Exactly. And seek out women who are also on the journey. Seek out people who are already better than you, and seek out people who are on the same level as you, and then seek out people who are also striving, right? Have the picture, like have each stage, right? So you can also see like, okay, this is
where I can get to. Exactly. This is an example.
Yeah, and continue like seeking a lot, like just praying. And
but did you have like a routine?
For those of us that live in the Western world, summer is really tough. Fajr is like around 2 a.m. But my routine is usually for sometimes I do tahajjud, right? And there was a point where I was very consistent with my tahajjud, like very like almost like every day. And also just remembering that it's not linear, so don't hold yourself so harshly, because again, what I realize is Shaitan works harder than everybody else. Shaitan will try to convince you that look at you say you're going to wake up for tahajjud yesterday. You woke up 2 days ago, you're not feeling yourself happy, you're not good enough, just drop this thing. Like, and you then start to be like, okay, well, I'm not good enough, then obviously what's the point of trying? And Shaitan will try to like convince you that, oh, Allah's given up on you. That's not true. Your Lord is to you what you think of him. So always remember that. Always think good of Allah, first of all. And if you want to do a routine, start slow. Don't try to overburden yourself, right? So there was a point where all I did was tahajjud, wake up 20 minutes before Fajr, do my 2 rakah, do my my trillionaire rakah, like I call it, the 2 rakahs before the 2 rakahs before Fajr, and then do my Fajr, read my Quran, do my morning Adhkar. Start slow. Start slow. If all you can manage is one verse, that's enough for now. And it's also a thing of do not become complacent. Once you've hit a milestone and the routine is locked in, that's you're going to just say, oh yeah, that's it. No, what's the next step? What can I do better? Where can I be better? What is it that I can add on without maybe overburdening myself? And just continue doing that. And I think that's one thing that I even have to remind myself is don't become complacent. Don't get comfortable.
I like that.
That's a very good wake-up call.
Yeah.
Strive to be better.
Your job is longer.
Try to be better.
You can read the Quran well. Okay, memorize.
Exactly.
Mashallah, may Allah make you to see. I recently started to see you. You opened up a page for Modesty. Let me not say what the page. Why did you feel a need to do that? I know you're like a serial entrepreneur and all. So maybe a different time we'll come and talk about the entrepreneurial side, but I'm just curious because this is tied to the whole self-image thing for Muslim women, as we've spoken about. What's your goal? What's your vision? Talk to us about it.
Yeah, so it was a couple of maybe around 2 years ago, around 2024, and I have the privilege of seeing women who wear the hijab like this, like day to day, and then when it comes to their big day, their wedding, right? I found the love of my life. I want to complete the other half of my deen. I'm excited. I then noticed that that's when people become lax in their hijab. For some reason, it's like the hijab ceases. Astaghfirullah. It's like the hijab ceases to exist for that one day. A woman who's wearing hijab like this then would opt for a turban. Or they'd wear like a tightly fitted dress. And I'm just like, we can look beautiful and still adhere to the hijab, right? The hijab isn't abaya, which is also a misconception a lot of people have, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, loose clothing. And I thought to myself, there's a better way than this. Like I can have a range of wedding looks and still beautiful, stick to my personal style, and still adhere to the condition of hijab. And then I thought, okay, I want to start a bridal styling service for most. Because modesty, again, like I said, doesn't always equal hijab.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Anyone can even be modest, right?
Anybody
Like
modest,
it's not only Muslims that dress in a certain way.
Well, there's hijab, right? And let's not conflate the two. So I was like, I want to start a service. And what's so interesting about that entire process was, I was like, I want to start the service, but I want to be the first bride. At the time, 2024, I haven't even met my husband. But I was like, I'm going to start the service. I'm going to be the first bride, and then I'm going to start the service properly. And at the time, a friend of mine was getting married, and she already knew what she wanted, but I was kind of like part of the committee. Oh, does this go? How does this look? What do you think? This is what I'm thinking. So I'm like, okay, this is also another service. A service for the bride who already knows what she wants, but she just wants maybe a second opinion, or she wants the final touches and stuff like that. But my intention has always been, I want to be the first bride that I style. And I was essentially the first bride, but I didn't alhamdulillah until like a couple of weeks ago. That's when I started talking about it. Like, oh yeah, like this is, I did introduce the service, but I've only just started actually working on it. But essentially, my intention was to help brides feel beautiful without throwing out conditions or compromising the conditions. That was it.
Yeah, may Allah put barakah in it, and maybe the next time we'll be having this conversation, it would already be a big
full blown, service.
We'll probably add the tag so that people, if they're interested they should reach out to.
We can keep going on. It's always wonderful, like hearing you share your stories. And I pray that Almighty Allah uses this as a sort of inspiration for somebody else out there as well. May we continue to get better in our deen, in our faith, in our journey, hijab journey, and everything Almighty Allah has commanded us to do. And at the end of the day, may Almighty Allah accept all of this as an act of ibadah from us. Thank you very much, Motunrayo, for coming on the podcast. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.